This model is of HMS Sparrowhawk, a torpedo boat destroyer. We'll come to that, what that means in just a moment. There were, in fact, at least two Sparrowhawks which served on the Pacific Station. The Royal Navy and, in turn, the Royal Canadian Navy have long had a practice of naming new generations of warships for ships that have gone before. So this particular generation of Sparrowhawk was built in the late 1890s. It again is an interesting example of how technology was changing. Torpedoes had been developed in the second half of the 19th century as a new means of attacking other ships. Now, initially they were just a tube with an explosive. Then somebody, I think in France, started building torpedoes which had their own autonomous little motor. And we've got an example over there of an early 14-inch torpedo, 14-inch being the diameter of the torpedo. And before long, the UK, France, other leading navies were building torpedo boats to carry these autonomous torpedoes. And the idea was that they'd be small, fast, and they'd get themselves close enough to the large enemy warships to launch their torpedoes and then scuttle away. Well, these were soon perceived as a threat, and so somebody came up with a bright idea of building something called a torpedo boat destroyer. That was a destroyer that would take out their torpedo boats. And Sparrowhawk is an example of one of these. She has torpedoes here mounted amidships and aft. She's got a gun forward and a gun aft. That's the destroyer part of her function. You can see she was very low in the water. Built for speed. These ships initially had reciprocating engines, burned a huge amount of coal when they were squirting along at just over 30 knots at max speed. Early in the 20th century, these were among the first of the warships to be fitted with turbine engines, which were more compact and enabled them to achieve even greater speeds. Sparrowhawk and Virago came, and Virago is another name to be reckoned with because there was an earlier Virago out here. And there was a book written by one of her officers, HMS Virago on the Pacific Station. Sparrowhawk and Virago were out here for a few years. They then were transferred over to China because, of course, early in the 20th century, the Royal Navy was consolidating, pulling ships back to home waters because there was this perceived threat from the nascent German Navy. And for whatever reason, it was felt that it was more important to have these torpedo boat destroyers over in China. And I can't remember, I think it's Virago survived until 1919. I think Sparrowhawk grounded soon after she went out to China and was wrecked. Nevertheless, the nifty thing about this model is how it shows this, how these warships were evolving. 4 funnels. She was really largely machinery spaces, and then forward was a cramped little, 2 cramped little mess decks for the crew. Aft was a somewhat less cramped quarters for the captain and the officers, and they were out here in Esquimalt for 3 or 4 years.